Hey everybody, it's me, Comic Crack. Welcome to the tail end of Wednesday, New Comic Book Day. I was going to take a trip down to the comic shop, but something came out the other day that I really wanted to get my hands on. I actually dipped into the convention money to be able to pick it up. I didn't realize, but it was limited to 4,000 copies. The company is Arrow Video, and I know that I think they're based in the UK, so I don't know if that's 4,000 copies worldwide or if that's just 4,000 copies North America. Either way, I knew that I would be able to find it at McNally, and when I looked last night I saw they only had one copy in stock, so I wanted to try to get down there and swipe it up instead of having to go and order another one. While I was there though, I also picked up the hardcover version of Nameless because I needed some guidance in deciphering this, and when I had posted about it on Twitter, the one and only Chris Burnham had responded to me saying that in the hardback that was at the time still yet unreleased, the hardback that was coming, there was going to be some notes from Grant Morrison about influences for the book and just kind of giving you a little bit of context. So that's fantastic. I read it, and as much as I didn't understand, I feel like I got the gist, and at least I have some more areas that I can look into. I find it a fascinatingly terrifying story, and it's one of those things, he even touches on it in here, of this, it's a different kind of horror as far as there's something kind of deep-rooted, and I think I was talking about it too when I talked about the book. There's something like deeply disturbing about it, and I mean, I guess to some degree nihilistic, I suppose, and it's based on some kind of nihilistic philosophies and some darker magics and things like that, and of course the tarot and all sorts of things, and dream machines, etc, etc, etc. So there's all these worlds of influence that he's drawn into this. So it was nice to get a little bit of a footing and seeing some of the references to things that I had kind of found as I was reading the book, and doing a little bit of just very, very basic digging online just for a few references to try to get a foothold in the story. Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic book, and one thing that I didn't notice, that I only noticed after reading the notes in the back talking about this kind of male and female, on the front cover, the astronauts, their spacesuits, and it's something that I didn't notice, like I said, until I looked at this and read this information. They have nipples and like a zipper between their legs that looks unmistakably like a vagina, which I just did not notice on the first passing when I was first reading the story. And reading what he says in the back, it makes complete sense why they would use that image, and as he kind of states, it's like, you know, we broadcast the ending right from the beginning, you know. Yeah, really, really interesting. So I'm looking forward to kind of reading this again and doing a little bit more digging into some of the context of where this story came from. So to kind of jump ahead, this is the set that I got today, and then I'll backtrack and we'll talk about other things, and I'll show you the set. It's I've always known it as the Female Convict Scorpion series, but it's the Female Prisoner Scorpion series, the complete collection. Female Comic Scorpion starred Miko Kaji, and it was 4 movies. Female Prisoner 701 Scorpion, Female Prisoner Scorpion Jailhouse 41, Female Prisoner Scorpion Beast Stable, and then finally Female Prisoner Scorpion number 701's Grudge Song. 3 of the movies were by Shunya Ito, directed by Shunya Ito, and the 4th was directed by someone whose name is not going to stick with me, because the 4th one is actually a movie I haven't seen. I've only ever seen the trailer for it. I've never actually seen the movie, which is also very exciting about getting this. When I was collecting these movies, or when I was watching these movies, The first two had official releases. The third one I had kind of a bootleg release, and the fourth one, as far as I know, didn't have an official North American release or an English language release. As far as I know, I don't know if that ever came to pass and it actually did appear at one time, but I'd only ever seen the first three in the series. So, as usual, it's back. It's a bit of a backtrack time. And again, it seems like a lot of things for me when it comes to discovery happened when I was living in Ontario in Kitchener-Waterloo. So I'm going to adjust you there a little bit. The battery sign is flashing and I don't quite understand it. I was fully charged when I took it out of the charger. Anyway, we'll see how it goes here. If it cuts off, the battery died and I'll be right back. When I was living in Kitchener-Waterloo, working in a warehouse, a grocery warehouse, picking orders, and then finally doing a forklift driver. There was a couple of people that I knew. One of them became pretty close friends with, and we had kind of a film night once a week, and I've spoken of this before, where we watched, where we watched all sorts of films, and through that discovered a lot of films myself, and him included. He was a avid collector, and his catalog was enormous of titles that he was collecting. He was a big Laserdisc guy, and then when DVDs came along, he was right in there with it, both buying and selling, and really on the cutting edge of some of these great companies like Blue Underground and Something Weird Video were two of the huge ones. Kino Video was another one that he was big on. And he was just right there with these, and a lot of those companies are companies that appeal to me as well. Now, at the time, I didn't know they would appeal to me, but the more we kind of saw, and of course Criterion, he was a big Criterion guy as well. The more movies from these companies that I saw, the more I realized that this was something that was in my wheelhouse that was just incredible to see. So I started picking up books and things when I could, and Japanese cinema was always something that really, really appealed to me. So I've shown this before. The Japanese cult film companion Tokyo Scope by Patrick Macias, M-A-C-I-A-S. And this was kind of it's very, very basic, and even at the time, the information that it does give you, it's by no means in depth. It's really, really broad strokes. But at the time, that's what I wanted, because I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know what was out there. So this gave me enough broad strokes to kind of get a footing. And it goes through kind of like genres and finally ends on the one and only Takashi Miike, or Miike Takashi. Who's just an incredible filmmaker, and he does the afterword in the book too. But one of the movies I found in here in a section about Pinky Violence, which was their kind of sexploitation-ish, exploitation, female revenge, women in prison kind of umbrella term. They talked about Female Convict Scorpion, Jailhouse 41 from 1973. It says in there, I thought it was 1972 that it came out. Doesn't have the years on this. Anyway, so stuff like this caught my eye, and Miko Kaji, of course, caught my eye. And she appeared in the Lady Snowblood movies. She's appeared in countless other kind of girl gang type of movies as well too. Arrow Video has actually put out a few things that is Miko Kaji related. Criterion recently put out the Lady Snowblood movies in one really nice package that I highly recommend as well. So the very first one that we saw was this, and this is actually Paul's copy, my buddy's copy, that I bought off him because he ended up getting 2 copies. So I was quick to snatch it up from him. This is Female Convict Scorpion, Jailhouse 41, the second in the series. The first one that I saw, and the one that, along with guys like Seijun Suzuki, that were blowing my mind when I was watching their movies. This one completely blew my fucking mind. His as well. We were both it's one of those things, sitting and watching it, you just don't know what you're getting into as you're watching it, and the longer it goes on, and scene after scene, and the music is kicking in, and the action is kicking in, and the style is kicking in, you're just continually like, oh my god, and just kind of jaw-droppingly in awe of what the hell you're seeing. Not only because it's super arty, but it's also down and dirty exploitation movie, but it's done in just such a uniquely stylistic way that it jumps out at you. And one of the things that jumped out at me right away was the fact that it covered so many different genres within one movie. It seemed to really be sectioned out into these genres and then tackle the very basics of that genre, but in doing so, doing all these kind of twists, giving it all these kind of twists that you don't normally see in that genre, whether it's how a character reacts, whether it's framing, whether it's lighting tricks, whether it's kind of these flashback sequences that are really dreamlike and stuff. It's just one of those movies that I can watch time and time again, and it's pretty much perfect. So the whole kind of women in prison movie has obviously a sordid history, and exploitation films in general have a very sordid history. There's no doubt about it. They deal with a lot of kind of subject matter that many people would, even at the time, find offensive, let alone now in 2016. Even though stuff like this is highly stylish, this movie specifically, it's not portraying these scenes in a down and gritty way to kind of give it a sense of realism. It's really playing these scenes in a dramatic, theatrical type of light, and very, 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 very mocking of all the men in the movie. The men are just complete and utter buffoons. Well, and there you have it. I called it. So we're back. What I was saying was that the violence and everything that is portrayed in here is very stylish. It's not done with any sort of gritty realism intended whatsoever. It's done more with a theatrical purpose. It really kind of has a nod to kabuki theater and things like that. And something I didn't actually think of, there's another kind of lead female character in here. She's an older woman, or plays an older woman of the kind of girl gang in this prison, and she's always kind of making these facial expressions, and I honestly never occurred to me before. It's very much like the kabuki kind of masks that you would see, downturned mouth, and she's always kind of presenting herself in this really unusual way. There's a style of dance as well called Buto, B-U-T-O-H, I believe. Look up, just type that in and look that up. And that's very grisly and kind of hyper-realistic and almost monstrous too, which maybe you can see parts of in her performance as well. But suffice it to say, this movie was a huge movie for me in my life of watching these kind of exploitation movies, and it was on discovering things like this that really drove me forward into wanting to find more movies like this, and to kind of keep pursuing these directors and following some of these companies, and just completely falling in love with movies in general again. So that was the second one. I later managed to find a used copy of the first film. This one was put out by Tokyo Shock, and as I said, Female Prisoner 701 Scorpion. It's the front there, there's the back cover there. And this one, nothing special, not even on the back of the cover. Nothing special inside this one, just the disc. Again, I really like this as well, but number 2 is it. So for the third one, I was reading Cinema Sewer, fan of Robin Bougie. He had a write-up in one of his Cinema Sewer comics about the Scorpion series, and the second one specifically. He kind of released a bootleg version of the third film, Beast Stable, which included some cover art by him and his friends, and then there's the write-up and him on the back as well, so I managed to score that, and that's the only way I got a chance to see the third one. I think that after he kind of did this, it was either later that year or the next year, there was an official release of that as well, which I never did get my hands on. So, what do you get with the Blu-ray DVD set? You get a boatload of shit. One of the main things you get are obviously you get a pretty great little postcard-sized ad for Arrow Video with a bunch of the covers of the titles they've released, and on the flip side, the Crazies advertisement. Obviously, you get the Blu-ray and you get a DVD copy of each of the films. Let me just get these out of here very gently. You get some amazing new cover art by an artist named Ian. Sorry, give me 1 second to find the credits here before this battery dies again. Ian McEwan, M-A-C-E-W-A-N, is who did the art. And you also get you can reverse the cover to get kind of the more retro original art of the series for each of the DVD or Blu-ray sets here. So that's the first film. I'll just kind of quickly show you this stuff. The second with a fantastic cover. And Grudge Song. And finally, Beast Stable, finally Grudge Song. Again, really excited to see this one. The other good thing is obviously there's tons of extras throughout these sets, and much to my surprise, Jailhouse 41, the second movie, has an interview or kind of a retrospective look at the film with a woman named Kayla Janice, who used to actually live in Winnipeg, and I knew her kind of from musicians and people that I knew, and she was responsible for bringing, if anybody's a fan of Criterion and Japanese films, there's one called House or Hausu. Before that came out on Criterion, she managed to get a print of it to play here in Winnipeg at kind of one of our little theaters in town. So I got to see a screening of that. She worked at the Alamo Draft House. She worked in Vancouver. I believe now she works in Australia and does similar things, always just finding films to present to audiences and kind of attract new films to wherever she happens to be living at the time. She's written a couple of books as well too. One I think was called Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, I believe was the title. So if you look that up, I think it's Fab Press out of the UK that put that book out as well. So that was a really nice surprise. Somebody that I know in the flippin' extras. You get a beautiful hardcover little book that has a lot of the information on each of the films. It has Vengeance is Hers by a guy named Chuck Stevens, kind of an overview of the whole series. Grudge Song, an interview with Miku Kaji from 1997 by Chris D. And then you get The Birth of Scorpion, an interview with creator Toru Shinohara. The Scorpion series was originally a manga that they adapted to make this. Lady Snowblood was originally a manga that they adapted to make into a film. And then you just get some information about the transfers, and you get a series of some stills just kind of thrown in there as well too. A really beautiful book. And there's kind of the look at the interview with Miku Kaji. Really, really great job. And finally, last but certainly not least, and oh my god, I wish I had two of these, because one just needs to live in my house. A poster, a double-sided poster of some sassery goodness. So yeah, sorry for speeding it up here in this last half. I just want to get this done before the battery dies. Cue the battery dying. That's it. Thanks very much. If you're interested in any sort of Japanese films, or if you're interested in exploitation films, highly, highly, highly urge you to, if you can get the set and you feel adventurous, pick the whole damn thing up. I assume that they will also be released singly. I believe that's what they've done with other box sets too, that you can just pick up into the individual films if you want. If you do decide to go that route, I cannot recommend highly enough this one. I was looking on eBay to see just how much these were going for, if they were selling. I'm assuming that with the release of a box set, people are going to be dumping their old DVD copies. I am not one of those people. I'm keeping my DVD copies, multiple copies of the same movie. This will never leave my hands. But I mean, search on eBay for these kind of things. The prices that I was seeing, I mean, there was one that was pretty ridiculous, $64, especially when if you scroll down a little bit, there was a couple of more that were like under $15, I think, or right around the $15 US mark. So yeah, either way, see the movie, give it a shot. You hopefully won't be disappointed. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much, Arrow Video. Arrow Video is one hell of a company. There's a lot from them that I want to pick up. They're doing some incredible shit that's just blowing my fucking mind. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. We'll talk to you later.